You whip.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Xpand Podcast. This is your host, Zarin Beatty, and I am here with a very special guest and a dear friend, as it happens to be over the past 2 years, Erick Godsey.
What it do, fam?
Godsey, how are you, man?
I'm good, brother. My life is full, and I could sleep more, but I'm good.
It's a pretty honest answer. I slept so much last night. There's no doubt. Dude, first of all, thank you for having me in this room. I know you talked about it the first time, how surreal it was to be able to do a podcast in this room with incredible people that have been on Aubrey's podcast in this room, and just really, it's cool, man. I'm speechless to a degree.
All right, well then I'll interview you.
Dude, honestly, thank you. It's, you've shown incredible growth the past 2 years. And how has it been to go from the Go For Your Win course to really working with Aubrey and being around all of the people that you're around right now? Like, that's a drastic change in your world. I'm sure both internal and external.
So first off, thank you for being someone that allows it, or that makes it so easy for me to be nice to. You know, like if you were weird or shitty or rude or whatever, this wouldn't be happening. And so I get the props from you for being a good guy, but it's because it's easy. Like, you're showing up in a way where it's really easy to invite you into the office and to fucking talk on a podcast. So thanks for making it easy. Appreciate that.
It means a lot.
And to answer your question, it's weird because when I first started working here, it was so surreal that I was kind of like a deer in headlights. And Aubrey had to sit me down after my first week, and he had to like look me in the eye and say, "You're not special. I'm not special. We're here for the mission. You've earned your right to be here. Now let's do the work." Because I kept saying, when he would ask me like, "How are you?" I kept saying, "It feels like I'm in a dream." And with love, he was like, "Okay, stop. You're here. It's real. Let's work." And that's been my balance the last 14 months, which is I still have moments like, oh my God, I can't believe this is my life. But then it's also, you've earned it. You're here. Do the work. And I can't be, oh my God, and do the work at the same time. So I work 18 hours a day.
I love it, man. That's we've kind of talked about yesterday how we're both in that transition in a sense, and how, like, for us, our audience is growing rapidly right now, and it's grown more the past 4 to 6 months than it probably has in the entire 5 years of being in business.
Yeah.
And
Congrats.
thank you very much. And with that, it comes, different thought patterns, different concerns, different worries. So I totally get like that transition phase, and it's been so cool to watch you grow, man, and to watch you now operate the Go For Your Win course with excellence, dude. You are so active, you're so consistent, you're on top of everyone's posts and everyone's comments, and like, you really do hold a force of gravity in that group of people. And you can tell by how people are welcomed to interact in that group.
Yeah.
And you help feed it. And it's been, dude, I mean, you had me on my very first podcast ever.
Yeah.
And it was over the phone. So to be able to officially do this in person, this is a cool moment. What
It's the Ouroboros. Yeah.
What does that mean?
It's the snake that eats his own tail, but basically it's like a constant reconnecting circle.
I didn't know that was the name. You, my friend, are extremely into Carl Jung.
Absolutely.
And journaling.
Some would say obsessed, yeah.
Would you mind telling me and everybody listening why Carl Jung? How did you get into that, and how much does he really mean to you and how you perceive the world?
So I think the why to Carl Jung is something that I didn't understand even while I began reading him, and it's something that I think I've pieced together later, recently, really. And I think I was a religious person in denial for like 10 years. And so what those people are called are atheists. And at least this is true for me. I knew that I had a connection to something that I didn't have a word for ever since I was a kid. But every type of religion that was shown to me just felt so empty and like just like a dead husk of a thing. And so I was like, well, all this is bullshit. So there is no God. And it took me a long time to recognize that I was running away from something that I had already experienced as a child. And some part of me wanted to find a rational system that could help me connect to my spiritual experiences. And Jung provided for me a framework that made sense to both the quote unquote woo part of me, but also the serious scientific empiricist. And he also gave me a depth of psychology that none of the other psychologists that I had found had given me to help me interpret my psychedelic experiences. And at some point, I really don't know when, but at some point, I just knew I have to read everything he's ever written. Honestly, it probably started. So it's funny that you bring up journaling and Carl Jung in the same vein, because I had a hard time falling in love with a woman for a long time because I was afraid of rejection. And around 21, I fell in love and I dated someone for 3 years. And right when we broke up, I had the worst back spasm of my life, like 4 days before she left, because she was moving and we knew that it was over then. And so I had such a bad back spasm that I couldn't walk for 5 days. Like I couldn't walk. The first day I had to piss in a cup because I couldn't get to the bathroom. That week when I couldn't walk, I ordered The Artist's Way based off of Tim Ferriss's recommendation. And that book got to my house basically the day that I could start like crawling. And then I started journaling. I started doing the daily pages, which is kind of the core practice that's talked about in The Artist's Way. And it was doing the daily pages that I don't remember what the connection was, but I started reading Jung every Sunday. Like that was my church. Like I would go to Barnes and Noble. I would take Adderall. I didn't take Adderall consistently and I didn't take it through high school, but I found it right when I graduated. I'm not going to lie. I loved it. And my Sunday, my church was to write the daily pages, read the next chapter because it was split up into weekly chapters. And then I would read Jung all day for like 8 hours. And I started with Man and His Symbols. And then my dream life exploded. And once you get kind of the tabula rasa of what dreams mean, and you start dancing with your dreams, like that might be the most significant before and after marker in my life. Like truly maybe the only other thing that's as big as that is the first time I had sex without a condom. Like that may be the only thing that's as close as like a before and an after. I'm just being honest. Clear. Yeah. And from that point, it was roughly around that time where I knew like I'm going to read every single thing he's ever written. And I started reading the collected works probably 6 months ago. And I read it every day for about 4 months. And then I had some pretty intense stuff come up in my life where I knew my work was not to read, but to write. Mm-hmm. And I've been writing every day. And I'll get back to Jung when I'm done writing, but I'm still writing the thing that I'm writing.
You're what, 30 or 40% through his like entire work?
38%, yeah.
That's incredible.
It's 250,000 Kindle pages.
Oh my God.
I have never worked on something this consistently this long in my entire life.
Holy crap. How did because you were, of course, familiar with him before you started doing that.
Yeah, I had read Man and His Symbols and the Portable Jung by Joseph Campbell, but that was really kind of my, and then what everyone else said about Jung, because a lot of people talk about Jung, you know.
How did your perception on him and in your own life change from starting to read his entire work base?
he became a man as opposed to just this like, he became more of a man and less of a legend, but because he became a man, his greatness became more impressive. Do you know what I mean?
Completely.
And really what's beautiful, like truly probably one of the biggest gifts I've gotten from reading the collected works is actually the experimental clinical psychology stuff he did at the very beginning of his career that nobody talks about. And he basically studied reaction time in humans and tracking their associative response to words. And basically what that means, so what it taught me, and this is a deep, like life-changing skill that I'm so grateful that I've gotten. And it's, if you really pay attention to how a person talks, you can think of it as like electricity is moving through a chip. And if the thought is clear, it's a straight line. But if you pay attention to how most people talk, the electricity is moving through their brain and then it hits a block and then they start to talk about some other thing. And you can, every single person who's listening can experience this today if they go talk to somebody. There's this flow of energy and then it redirects. Wherever it redirected, there's a knot there in that person's psyche. And all you have to do to be a profound psychologist is to bring their awareness back to that block and make them take 1 inch of thinking into it. And that's something that I didn't read in anything about Jung, but it's something that I learned through beginning to read his very early research.
How do you feel meditation helps with that process? Because do you meditate, right?
Every day. I do
day.
Vipassana every morning.
So when we realize there is a blockage somewhere or something, some sensation in our body that we may not want to feel or that's being present, and we might start to judge it as poor or negative, how important is it to lean into that even 1 more inch to kind of to get a better understanding on what that is? Does that relate to the same concept?
I literally think that's what a breakthrough is. Like, the words we use matter. And the words we use, I think, reflect how we see our psyche. And I think the word breakthrough is one of those experiences. So all of us have coping patterns to deal with reality. Everyone, period. Your coping patterns are basically like grooves. You can think of it, this is kind of a crude metaphor, but it's like you have grooves in your brain that the electricity moves through. And your brain is going to default to taking the path of least resistance to cope. It wants to use the least amount of energy to get through whatever is happening. So if you're unconscious, you're just flowing through your patterns. And that can have, if your life is trending 1% up, then cool. Like, you're moving in the right direction. If your life is trending 1% down, you want to change some shit because in 100 days, it's going to be awful. The way you do that, one way, is simply wherever you feel that electricity gets stopped, bring your awareness right there. And I really think of it as like having a knot in a muscle. Like, if you have a knot in a muscle, you just consistently apply pressure to that spot until it releases. And awareness is the pressure. And so like Vipassana, any type of meditation that gives you an ability to just hold your awareness, that's like you're learning how to use your fingers. And you can just trace where the knot is and then just hold. And it'll give way, you know?
It's such a beautiful way to associate it with something that a lot of people understand.
Yeah.
It being the muscle tissue. And as you know, I've done a lot of the courses here at On It, and you're around top elite professionals in the body and the mind, essentially. And just like the nervous system or the body in a motion pattern, it wants to take the path of least resistance. And we have to understand where in that movement pattern are we struggling. And then you get more mobile there, or you put more load, more tension in that area. It's safely, of course, right? And then you can progress your entire body and mind, because your nervous system is the same thing, to adhere to more adversity.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a great way to put it.
Your nervous system is all of it. Like, the nervous system is the psyche, is the body, is the mind, is the heart, is the intuition. All of this stuff comes down to the nervous system. All of it.
So I would love to dig deeper into that with you. Why do you feel that way? Because the past 2 years, especially being on it more, the nervous system has lit up, in my perspective and perception, more than ever before. It makes more sense. There's something to it that is abnormally accurate.
Yeah.
And it's something to look into.
I'm going to get weird.
I like getting
cool.
weird.
Okay,
Let's get
so
weird.
The totality of whatever your mind tries to represent when I say the word everything, whatever that conception is, that is a product of your nervous system. So what I mean is, every single person listening, when they use the word the world or the universe or everything or all of it, whatever word they use, they're articulating the boundaries of a subjective simulation your nervous system is running. You can't, your awareness, based off of my understanding, your awareness cannot exist outside of whatever the simulacrum your nervous system is generating, because it is a byproduct of that thing, of your nervous system. So you right now have the subjective experience of, this is my body. Inside my body is what's happening inside of me. And then this is the objective world. I think that that's a useful lie, but everything that you're experiencing is arising within your mind, your psyche, which is a byproduct of the system of nerves moving through your body. So what I'm trying to get at, and I still don't know how to articulate this as well as I can, but I think it's literally true: as without, so within, as above, so below. Like, as you bring order to your subjective experience, it feels like you're bringing order to the objective world, because what you think the objective world is still a generated qualia of your nervous system. Like, what you think I am is a representation your nervous system is generating to try to project onto whatever objective data it's getting from me, but you have no interfacing ability with objective reality. I do think there is an objective reality, but I don't think humans have evolved the apparatus to perceive it. We perceive something like a wave of photons, but our brain automatically condenses it down into a meat body. And we're interacting with a representation of our nervous system. And so I kind of repeated it like 5 times because it didn't feel like it hit the mark each time. And I've tried to explain this point probably 100 times, and I'll continue to try to explain it because I think it's a fundamental truth. I don't think it's my opinion, but you can really get lost in the sauce of philosophy just talking about that statement. But that's why I think it all comes down to the nervous system, because I think your nervous system is the tool through which you experience, period. And then everything, the world, the universe, is all contents that are experienced. So the medium through which everything is experienced is your nervous system.
How do you strengthen your nervous system, even emotionally or mentally? How do you help it adapt better? How do you have the fluid electricity flow through it much more efficiently? How do you help this thing operate at a maximum efficient level?
This is a great question. And I think the answer is commit to, as best as you can, as consistently as you can, to tell the truth. and to act the truth. Because here's your system is a tool. And if you want the tool to be properly calibrated, you have to give it authentic data. If you give it skewed data, it's going to give you skewed responses. The way that you give it the cleanest data is to attempt to speak and to act in truth as consistently as you possibly can. Not only will that make your system more honed, but I think it has this infectious effect on other people, because all of us, like, it's so ingrained in us that we can feel in someone's body if they're at least trying to be honest, as opposed to if they're trying to withhold. Like, we're all of us are the descendants of thousands of generations of pragmatic psychologists. Like, we have learned to read other human meat suits to discern danger and interest and love and greed and murderous rage for hundreds of thousands of years. And we are the byproducts of the ones that survived. So, like, we're the byproducts of the baddest motherfuckers. And we're all experts. Like, we've inherited the genetic intuition to read somebody's body. And you can feel when someone, like, you're inspired when you feel someone trying to be more honest than they are normally. Like, you can feel it. Even if you've just met them, you don't know what their baseline is, but you can feel it in their body if they're trying to be more honest than normal. Like, it's almost like when people start to be honest, they just kind of like drop their shoulders and they take a deep breath, and they're just different. But I think that the way that you tune your nervous system the best is to, as much as you can, constantly strive to speak and act in truth. And I'm not talking from on high on the mountain. Every single day I see opportunities where I could have been more in truth. Every day.
3 things that have really helped me understand the emotional state of other people, just like you described, are martial arts, meditation, and plant medicine. Martial arts being, you can feel if somebody is angry, if they're nervous, if they're very calm and confident while sparring them and how they approach you. Their body language actually shifts and moves and changes if they're very aggressive, if they don't want to throw a punch, or if they're very calm getting in where they want to be. That has an energetic difference in their present behavior. It feels different. Now, I can feel that, and then the meditation aspect, if I can feel that inside of me, when I feel that same sensation, what does that mean in me? Is that anger? Is that anxiety? Am I calm? Am I confident? And then plant medicine has enhanced that whole recognition and comprehension of what those sensations actually mean or what they may mean.
Yeah.
And then you get deeper into that, which kind of brings me to the next question would be, how do you feel like meditation and plant medicine have helped your nervous system comprehend your world, the spirit realm, like the full capacity of our experience here, man? Like, there's something very different happening when you meditate and then when you undergo a ceremony with proper intention and preparation and implementation of the medicine, dude.
Yeah.
What do you feel like that's doing with us, to us, for us?
So great observation and great question. And so I did Vilka recently. Have you done Vilka? Okay. I'm not going to try to explain it because it doesn't make for a good podcast because you can't. But a thing that I witnessed while I was on Vilka is I heard my meat suit, and I had no idea why, kept doing this. And I was terrified. Like, my experiencing self was in terror.
Okay.
But my body was really like calm and just, And that confirmed the thing that I've believed for like the last 10 years is I think that, so I think of your psyche, which is the totality of your or of your psychological life, as like a big sphere. And I think it's basically like 99% unconscious stuff, 1% conscious stuff. That 99% is always watching and learning and finding patterns and trying to adapt and trying to grow. That's my belief. And I think that when I do psychedelics, I'm learning things that I don't even understand that I'm learning. And there might be a placebo thing happening there, but I truly believe that I'm being taught by what I don't know. What I don't know. But I trust that I'm being taught. And the prophet Kanye West has a line, and it's something like, I've been talking to God for so long, and if you look at my life, he must be talking back. And of course, he says it with a type of swag and bravado that makes a lot of people upset. But I resonate the fuck with that, because I don't know what it is, what I'm being taught. But I think that the reflection of both of our lives is evidence that we're doing something right, even if we don't really know what we're doing. But the key thing, and I think this is where meditation can start to offer some love, is my body now is almost like an instrument or like a tool, and it will resonate in a way where it's hard to describe, but when it resonates, I know that I'm doing the right thing.
Dude.
And when I'm not doing the right thing, I can feel my body like de-resonate.
100%.
Like it's almost like the composition of my atoms feel like they start to come apart slowly if I'm not doing the things I know I'm supposed to be doing, or saying things that I know aren't true. And then I can feel it's almost like the atoms of my being start to become more compressed and solid if I act and speak in what I know is the truth. And so, like, I don't know what it is that it's teaching me, but I know that a thing that I've gathered from it and from that and journaling and trying to meditate is this feeling of my internal GPS. And I feel like I've learned pretty well how to read it. Now, you have to have the courage every day to follow it, and I waver on some days, but I can't say that I don't hear it, you know?
That's so unbelievably on point, man. I feel that every single day with most decisions that are made. It's like, for me, I feel like it's tapping into our intuition, like our internal alignment with the universe. I feel like our intuition is the way for the universe to communicate with our body. Now, in Eastern philosophy, the hara is like the center of your gravity. It's deep in your stomach, in your belly, and it represents the space, like the balancing position between Earth and the heavens. So that's where like everything comes together, is right in the middle of your intuition, in a sense, that gut instinct. And if we can pay attention more to that, understand when it's fucking feeling good, man, and like you're around the proper people, and there's this feeling of you are right where you should be. And then when you know where you should be and you're doing some shit that you probably shouldn't be doing, there's a major disconnect there. And it feels like building a relationship with our intuition, or whatever that signal is, man. Like, that's been a major part of my journey the past few years, ever since plant medicine in a deeper aspect. But somehow I've always known to pay attention to it, and sometimes you don't, and sometimes you realize when you should. And then you understand, like, this signal, it represents something. And then when you listen to it more, you get in better positions, you get around better people, you feel better internally. It's something that's really cool to hear you express and talk about.
Check this out. What Socrates was famous for was this idea that he listened to his daemon as opposed to other people. And in Greek society, your daemon was this idea that it's like this psychological force. It's this thing in your head that whispers to you, basically. And Socrates listened to his daemon, even though it cost him his life. Like, his daemon was like, what do you know? And then the Socratic questioning approach came from, he went around Athens and he kept asking people questions until they basically contradicted themselves, and they ended up having to say, I don't know. And he was brought to trial for, quote unquote, corrupting the youth, because he would basically expose powerful people in public through his questioning, and they said either stop or be exiled. No, I think it was either be exiled or drink hemlock and die. And one of Plato's most famous books is written about all these philosophers and friends of Socrates who came to his cell the night before he was supposed to drink the hemlock and were trying to break him out. And Socrates, there are different accounts of this, but to make it as poetic as we possibly can, his daemon said no. Like, this was us acting in truth. No. And Socrates told Plato and his friends, no, do not break me out. I will not be exiled. I will drink the hemlock tomorrow. And Socrates was my Jesus growing up, because I didn't resonate with religion, and I still don't think I've had a chance to really read Jesus' story without all the bullshit that I've inherited from my culture. And I would like to get to that point one day where I can actually read who Jesus the man was, like as purported in the Bible, as a psychological way of being. I feel like he would teach me a lot, but I'm not there yet. But Socrates was my Jesus, and I didn't understand why I resonated with him so much. But within the last maybe 4 or 5 years, I see now that the thing in Socrates that I admired the most is that he bowed before his daemon. And what's also really interesting is I'm pretty sure the word demon comes from the idea daemon. And the reason that idea was quote unquote demonized, pun intended, is that the major religions, specifically, the church, did not want people to have a gateway to the divinity that was outside of the structure of the church. And in Greek mythology, your daemon was your bridge to whatever the Platonic world was. Everyone has a daemon. Everyone has an intuition, whatever you want to call it, a spirit guide, whatever word you want to call it. It doesn't matter unless you cultivate your subjective experience of it. But I think we all have an inner God with us. I think it's explainable through evolutionary psychology in a way that I understand it, and I don't need to take on any metaphysical assumptions about how the universe works, but I also understand that that's me playing safe inside of my sandbox of scientific rationalism. But I think if we want the greatest number of people to connect to these ideas, we have to keep it inside that sandbox as much as we can. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, I think every single person on this planet has a daemon, and I think learning to connect with your daemon is probably the most significant quote unquote self-help task that you can take on if you don't have it yet.
Where does journaling come into play with you building a relationship with that part of you?
Yeah.
What other practices help you kind of cultivate a better relationship with that daemon, that intuition, whatever that may be?
I think where I started and the way that we tend to look at the world is, because this was my first step. This should be everyone's first step, and I know that I'm doing that, but this is the story that I have in front of me. And it's that there's a type of journaling called stream of consciousness or expressive writing, and it's you write stream of consciousness, you don't edit, you don't ever reread it, and you don't let anyone else ever read it. The reason those rules are in place is because most people write with this unconscious or subconscious expectation that it will be read. So people are simultaneously trying to be creative, but they're running the inner judge at the same time. And if you're doing that, you're not going to be honest. If you have fear around being honest, which almost every human on the planet does, you won't be honest. If you can't be honest with how you talk to yourself, I don't see how you can connect to your daemon. So I think journaling is the first step for people who haven't taken any step towards connecting to their daemon. And the reason it's the first step is because that is the safest place to begin running the experiment of what if I admit things that I know are true to myself that I've never admitted out loud. Like, there are parents in the world who could write in truth, right now I hate my child. And they will not ever admit that because it's so culturally unacceptable. But I think that if you're not willing to even admit that as a lie your ego tells, because I think the deeper truth there is, I love them so much, I wish they would act this way. But if you're not even willing to admit the truth as you experience it now, which a lot of the times that's going to be the ego screaming, you can't engage with it properly. And so I think journaling as a primary step to connecting with your daemon is because it helps you cultivate the ability to be honest. And once you cultivate that ability to be honest with yourself, start practicing it with other people. Every single person listening to this right now has a truth to tell one of their closest relationships that they haven't been saying for a year. Everyone. And so we all have potentials to run this experiment. I'm like, okay, how can I share this truth with love? And shut the fuck up until you can say it with love. Like, I don't like the idea of being like aggressively honest or being honest and using it like it's a sledgehammer. I think that that's lazy and it's not respecting the other person.
Really good point.
Like, if you've cheated on your partner for 5 years and you haven't told them, and you have a house with them, and then you read and you saw a podcast with Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson, and now you want to tell the truth, and you're just going to walk into your bedroom with your wife and say, I've been cheating on you for 5 years. I don't think you get to do that. I think the way of being in complete truth with love is you have to write that out, and you have to sit with your shitty choices and really process, like, why did I do this? What was I seeking? What unconscious pattern from my childhood, was causing me to treat this person who gave me their complete trust this way? How can I go about reversing this? Or how can I go about reducing the damage of this? What do I need to give up? Like, and then maybe after a year of you really thinking about it every day, then you get to tell her. But I'm going down a rabbit hole.
Damn. Dude, that's from somebody who does self-work and who journals and who sits with thoughts, and whether it's Xpand or a mission or a path, that's amazing advice, man. Because not only are you able to better integrate that, those unconscious or conscious thought patterns into your daily awareness, you're going to be able to articulate it much more efficiently by the time you understand it more.
Yeah.
When we understand something, then we can speak more, once again, like you were saying, from our truth when we talk about something. It's the inability to articulate something from a genuine platform that mixes a whole lot of mess up.
Yeah. And if you tap into how you feel when you talk to certain people that kind of almost you can't help but feel like frustrated after you talk to them. I think if you go back and reflect, a big part of it, especially if they're genuine people, like they're not like shitty people, but they're genuine, but you still find that you walk away kind of frustrated. Those are people who aggressively think out loud at you. Like they're trying to work through their thought process while they're spewing it at you. And I think that that's also just a great thing that journaling allows you to do. It allows you to hone the energy that you offer other people. And the self-righteous part of me wants to say, I think it's just respectful to journal, because you're not just shotgunning your ideas at someone's face for an hour.
Damn. All right. So let's say when dealing with a family member or a parent and they're super draining and you feel exhausted and tired when you're around them, and then when you leave from their presence, and you do feel that sense of frustration where it's hard because I've experienced this at times where it's like, fuck, why am I feeling this way? Like, this is this person in my life. Like, there's a weird kind of relationship happening there. What do you feel like is happening from the person who is leaving it and the person who is kind of, in a sense, creating the discomfort, even though it's not always on that person?
I think if we're being honest with ourselves, people that we choose to allow to connect to our heart in a way that we say that we love them, I think it's human nature we then subconsciously start to become invested in who we think they should be. And once we're unconsciously invested in who we think they should be, who they are, if we don't see it making the type of change that we think they should be making, we start to get frustrated. And we've stopped loving who they are, and we're in love with who we think they could/should be. And then it creates this, like, if you're listening to this podcast and if you're being honest, you would claim that you're woke on some level. Like, I think if we took away our egos, if you're listening to a podcast like this, you're trying to wake up. So you're responsible for these relationships in your life that are with unconscious people, because you're just more awake. Your responsibility is proportionate to the amount of wokeness that you are. And I know that people don't like to self-claim. What I mean by wokeness is you're attempting to bring more consciousness into your unconscious patterns. The proportion that you are conscious is the proportion that you are responsible. And if someone is zero, quote unquote, if they have no moments of true self-reflective, oh fuck, then you're completely responsible in the sense of how you feel about them. And I know it's true for me. And I've gone through the fire with some of my family members when I first started to like learn all this stuff about health and wellness and psychology and habit change. I was trying to actively change them. And it just got to the point where they didn't want to call me anymore. They didn't want to see me anymore because my presence made them feel guilty. And that was because I was trying to change them into who I see they should be. And the truth is like, I know, like, if someone's addicted, just for a really stark example, if someone's addicted to heroin and they're destroying their lives, you aren't wrong to see that there's a way of being that they could be that's much better and much healthier. But what I have found is that you can't force a person to change. You can be someone in their life that loves them as they are and then lets them know with love and kindness, you could be better. And I'm here the moment you want to start trying. I'm not going to make you. I love you as you are, but you can be better. And that's the stance that I have to take with my family, because the truth is, some people in my family might die 40 years before they should because of patterns that they have. And I've tried to make them change, and it's caused them to have resentment with me and for me to not see the part of them that's alive right now that I love. And I have to let that go. I have to let them know I love you. And the moment you want to start working on this, I'm here. And then I don't think about it anymore. And if I go and I see them, I think of Ram Dass about if you think you're enlightened, go spend a week with your family. And I choose to see it like this past Christmas. The focus was just show up in love with them. Everyone in my family knows the thing with them that I want to talk about. There's no vagaries, you know? So I'm going to show up in love, hang out with them, and if they're ready to talk, they will. And if they don't, they don't.
I think that's a really beautiful way to kind of put the ball in their court, because to kind of bring this full circle in a sense.
Ouroboros.
Ouroboros. You've really helped me recognize this about myself, actually. I think you were even unconsciously planting a seed in me, even if I was kind of working on this concept around the time I met you. You like helped solidify it. And it was, the more genuine that I become with myself, the more genuine that I will become with the people around me, and vice versa.
Yeah.
The more genuine I am with other people, the more genuine that I will be with myself. And when approaching life in that energy, in that level of behavior, it's much easier to just feel comfortable coming from where I'm coming from. And if they accept it or not, that's not up to me anymore.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're able to approach your family in that genuine aspect and just be like, I love you, I'm here for you. And then you just put it down, like you do the best that you can possibly do. And the rest isn't up to you. But if you know and you sit and you resonate with your choice and the word choice that you've applied in the moment, in the energy, in everything, then what more can we really do but be patient,
right,
and wait?
And I think that you're touching on the thing that might be the most beautiful change in how the universe feels to me in the last couple of years. But when you really commit to just being genuine and being willing to get the feedback from the universe about like some aspects of you they don't like, some aspects of you they love. But if you just commit to just showing up as completely honest as you can to every situation, there is such a tremendous weight that is released. Like, probably my highest faith claim is if I show up in love and truth in this situation, whatever happens is the best thing that could happen, whatever it is, because I showed up in the most love and the most truth that I knew how to do. And dude, just the fucking weight that is taken off of me from dating, from work relationships, from choices I make in the moment, from doing podcasts, from doing any type of coaching where I feel like maybe there's imposter syndrome. My recurring chorus has been show up in love and truth. Whatever happens is the best possible thing. And I think it's true. And I love it.
I believe you in that concept so deeply. It feels like too, so you articulate it in your own way, and I think that's extremely important. For me, it's been to be genuine. That's whatever the flow through me, that feels like a genuine part for me to even be expressing that. And therefore I'm able to build, as like Don Howard talks about, an intention, a ball of energy that we can build through each moment we breathe and each choice we make. And this genuine behavior of energy, it's amazing, man. We have such fear about being who the fuck we are.
Yeah.
Because of the judgment, because of the inner critic, because of the insecurities, whichever it may be. But the fucking beauty in learning how to be more who I am has brought the most beautiful people in my life than I could have ever expected.
Yeah.
I never could have expected it, man. Whether it's relationships and intimacy and females and beautiful intimate moments with people that I want to be fucking intimate with, dude. I can't even tell you how many times I was with somebody because other people thought they were attractive.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're fucking other people's opinions.
That's fucking hilarious. And it's the truth.
Yeah.
But to align more with being who you are from that genuine, beautiful platform, it's brought people like you in my life, dude. It's allowed me to have better discussions on podcasts and off our platform, just with other people, other human beings. And that's one of the most beautiful parts about like being on a journey of understanding yourself more. Like, who do I even want to be around?
Right.
You know, and it goes back to like, what's my body resonating with? I feel like our body, it shows us and it tells us everything that we would ever need to know if we just learn how to pay attention.
Yeah.
And so thank you for walking your journey, man. Thanks for being genuine in your own way.
For sure. And the truth is, I'm uncomfortable when people compliment me. So I'm about to say something that will deflect the compliment, but I also think it's true. And I think it points to something that needs to be owned as well. If you're going to be genuine, is I am genuine because my ego sees it's the most effective way to be powerful in the world. It's true power. It's not, you're afraid of me power. It's not, look at my badge power. It's like a soul power. But I do it. I know that the reason I started doing it is because I saw that it was powerful. And now the reason that I do it, I would be lying if a part of me wasn't admitting that I do it because I know it makes me powerful. But I also do it because I genuinely feel like I have a connection with a thing, and that thing sees all my bullshit. That thing is inside my head right now. It knows everything that I think. It knows all my opinions. It knows all my tricks. And the story I've told myself is I have to be in truth with that thing in order for me to have grace, which I think is the ultimate power. I think a person who has grace is the most powerful type of human on the planet. And my story is, in order for me to have grace, I have to have a clean relationship with that thing in me that I believe can see and hear everything. So it's almost like I've painted my ego into a corner, but I've given him meat to eat.
Okay.
Like, and the deeper point here is, if you're interested in spirituality and you don't honestly contend with the facts of the ego, you're going to have a really hard time, and you're probably going to be unconscious, and your ego is going to hijack you at some point in your life and ruin your life. So what I'm trying to say is, you still have to contend with the ego. If you have a body, you have an ego, and you have to contend with that and give it its due. And so the story I've weaved for myself keeps me in alignment with my grace, but also gives my ego something to eat. Does that make sense?
How would you describe living in grace? Because it feels a lot like harmony in like a martial arts aspect. And there's a beautiful quote that like the ultimate path of the warrior is to live in harmony. So how would you feel about or describe grace?
Yeah. So mathematically, I would define grace as love times truth plus faith equals grace. Metaphorically, I'd say grace is being on the peak of the wave, not looking down, and just being on the board. And I would also say that grace is, I don't know why this is an image that sticks with me, but it really does stick with me. And I think it's because I played Final Fantasy VIII as a child, and it was my favorite game, and it was like a movie. Yeah. But I think grace is you're waltzing in a grand cathedral ballroom, and your dance partner is your daemon, and you guys are just in sync. You guys just fucking dancing.
Damn.
You know?
That's so powerful. Man, dude, because fuck, you painted such a beautiful picture, like an energetic, relatable picture, because there have been moments where I felt in harmony with that part of my being.
But there are times where I ate 5 grams of mushrooms and I danced in my kitchen like I was waltzing with the universe.
That is amazing. Oh, that's the best. Dude, that's a very beautiful way to articulate what grace should or could be, or what it may feel like. Because in harmony, I feel like as it brings it back, if we are in harmony with our internal self, we will be in harmony with the external world. Because I really do believe and feel like they are one in the same.
Right.
Man.
I think the wink from God is like external world, wink.
Word.
Like, again, it's hard to articulate, but for everyone listening, what you think you're perceiving as the things outside of your body are concepts that are being electrically or chemically produced inside your brain. There is not an external world. I mean, I'm sure that there is. You don't have access to the external world. You have access to your psyche, which subjectively pieces itself up in a way that feels like experientially there's this internal thing, and then this meat suit, and then the outside world. But everything that you perceive is being generated electrically or chemically inside your brain. It's all inside you.
So then how do you move your perception on the world outside of you? Because if you don't have access to it, we can still perceive something either aggressively or peacefully. What is that interaction with that world?
Language gets clumsy here, and I am not properly equipped yet to explain this well, but there clearly seems to be a universally consistent, objective world that our meat suits over the course of millions of years have learned to interpret in a consistent way, that we can all agree that like this is a jar. But whatever the true external truth of this thing is, it's not bound by time. This jar exists in a atomistic swirl that starts at the Big Bang and that extends to the heat death of the universe. And it's really 99.99% empty space. Like, those are just slivers of whatever this objective truth is. But we've all evolved the same core hardware that interprets whatever the energetic fact objectively of this jar is as a jar. And so we're interacting with this agreed upon, hallucinated, quote unquote, objective world. But I think the point is, and all you have to do to experience this fact is take 5 grams of mushrooms. Like, and I'm not recommending that to anyone, but if this isn't making sense, you can ingest something that completely reorganizes and obliterates what you thought is the objective world. And it's because and I'm sure you've experienced this on ayahuasca. The reason that's able to happen is because your brain is the thing that is generating this hypothesis. So I guess that's a good way to see this. There seems to be an objective world. It's so complex that we don't have the biological apparatus to perceive it objectively. We're all creating hypotheses as simulations of the objective world. Because we all share the same core hardware, our hypotheses are close enough that we can fucking talk to each other. But put 4 tabs of LSD on your tongue, and your hypothesis generating machine, which is your nervous system, will be so recalibrated that you'll be able to see, oh, I do not perceive objective reality. I am inside of a simulation that my body has to generate to deal with the infinite complexity of whatever the objective world is. And I'm so grateful that it works well enough that I can kiss a beautiful woman. And I just have to stop there. Because you can get so lost in the sauce and like overwhelm yourself. Can. Like, for me, so if this is not clear to people listening, I got to a point in my early 20s where I almost went insane because of the amount of psychedelics that I was doing, and I had to slow down. And the thing that saved my sanity was finding a metaphysical philosophy called pragmatism, which is basically humans cannot know objective truth. Therefore, use the ideas that are useful. It's that clean. So all the metaphysical shit that I was like, well, what if it's this? What if it's this? For like 2 or 3 years, I was just going down rabbit holes about what could be. And it got to the point where I almost couldn't function. Like, I have distinct memories of being like 20, and a friend would say they're hungry. And I was like, how do you know that? How do you know you're hungry? How do you know what hunger? And I was losing my shit, man.
Yeah.
But there's a type of philosophy called pragmatism, which is it's probably the most useful idea tool I've ever grabbed onto. And it's essentially, you cannot know objective truth, but pick ideas, act them out as if they were true, and keep the ones that help you live the life you want to live. Because you just don't know, dummy.
I feel like anybody who's been who has experienced any form of medicine, whether it's a psychedelic or a plant medicine in a different country, can comprehend the aspect of questioning the world around you. And there's a part of us that may or may not believe this, and like there is an interesting part where we reconfigure our own perception on everything around us. And maybe that's a really beautiful part of the process, because maybe that helps show us that we can reconfigure our perception about the world around us.
Which I think is the it might be the most powerful insight an individual can have about the nature of their mind, is that everything can be destroyed, but there's something in you that even if everything feels like it's destroyed, it's not broken, and it can remake a new world. And like, that's kind of the beauty of any initiation ritual, is that if it's done with proper intensity, your model of the world is obliterated. But what that teaches you, if you make it through it, is that your entire world can be destroyed, and you realize, oh, there's this other part of me that is the creator of worlds, and that cannot be destroyed as long as my meat suit is still operating. I have not had an experience where I think consciousness exists if my meat suit dies in a way that I would understand it at all. And I'm open to being wrong and to having experiences that would show me otherwise. But I say all of that to say, as long as your heart is still beating, or I guess as, you know, because your heart can stop and you can still come back. As long as there's still electricity flowing through the base of your brain to make you breathe. You have a thing in you that is the creator of this world that you're inside of. It's some part of your psyche that makes a world. And that thing doesn't break. That thing keeps coming back. And I'm just having this thought right now. I love conversations where I get to say that sentence out loud. But a testament to the fact that you have a part of your psyche that can literally create worlds is that you dream. You dream. And if you connect to the fact that you dream, what that shows you is that there is an aspect of your psyche that is so powerful that it can literally, with no external stimulus, create a world that is so believable that you've experienced it probably 20,000 times in your life so far, and you've maybe been lucid 5 times. Like, it's that good at creating worlds. So that's just a fact. It's a testament to the fact that there's a part of your psyche that can fucking make worlds.
So you are one of the most intellectual people that I know involving dreams.
Okay, for sure.
What for sure. Whether it's in the Go For Your Win groups or the fitness service or whichever, man, it's your interpretation and your understanding on Carl Jung and dreams and how these things blend. It's on a beautiful, beautiful level.
Thank you.
Where do you feel the importance of the dream world really come into play with understanding like who we are as people?
Man, everything. I think the most, what's the right word? I think the type of experience that you can have that is the closest to God are your dreams. I think whatever God is, it's something that is emanating from the unconscious. That's my model. And dreams seem to be a spontaneous byproduct of that God part of you. And dude, like, the sensation I get in my hands when I think about dreams is it's like I'm on a beach and I'm just digging my hands into the sand, and that's what it feels like to really start to look at your dream life. Like, it's like you're digging your being into the pulsating gooiness of your soul. Like, it's just, it's the deepest thing that we can experience to our soul. And if you look at all of mythology and all of fiction and all of our heroes and comic book heroes and all of the great characters from all the great books, all art, I think, comes from the unconscious. And your dreams are supremely artful, and they create beautiful stories for you, no one else. And like, the thing that I've learned from Jung is that he genuinely believes that your dreams, you can think of it as an aspect of your daemon, and it's trying to help you. It's the thing in you that dreams is watching your life right now. It's listening to you right now, and it sees all the places that you get blocked, and it doesn't talk, but it can generate images, and it's trying to throw images at you. Jung believed to help reorient you and guide you properly towards becoming who you could be. Like, he thought that the energy in a person is akin to the energy that's in the seed of an oak tree. There's something energetically inside of an oak tree, inside of an oak seed, that knows its purpose is to become an oak tree. And you can fucking throw cement on top of it. You can deprive it of everything, and it's going to do everything that it possibly can to become an oak tree. And Jung believed that, like, the metaphor that he used is, you came into the world and you want to be a function towards a thing. You want to become a thing, and it's not in your control. And there's some part of you that is going to do everything it can to help you become that thing. And you can fucking resist and play small all you want, and it's going to be uncomfortable. But I think an emanation of that force are your dreams. And it blows my mind that we even get to dream, and that there truly feels like there's a God inside me that's trying to talk to me through my dreams. And, you know, if I bow before it and try to hear what it's trying to tell me, it's a beautiful journey that you get to do your whole life. Like, you have a supreme movie director inside of you.
Damn,
that
that's
every
a really
night.
good way to put it.
So, dude, on average, we dream, I believe it's 6 times a night for about 20 minutes each. We have a world-class director inside of us making 6 unique movies every night. And I think, you know, we're lucky if we remember a fragment of one. I think that you can cultivate the ability to recall your dreams. I think you should write down your dreams. I think everyone should have a personal Bible that they make that is their dreams. I need to practice what I preach and actually start doing that, because I don't. But I know that I think it's one of the most beautiful gifts that we get in this life is to pay attention to our dreams.
Haven't you been writing about your dreams though? Like,
I do.
Wasn't there like a 30 or like 60 day in a row thing where you wrote about every dream you had?
Not about every dream that I had. There were 2 significant dreams, and I'm not going to get into the story because it would take at least 2 hours. But I had 2 significant dreams that came up within the last 6 months that have helped me. So, okay, I'm going to kind of get into it, but I won't get into the details. One of the things that Jung talked about is that he found, by studying schizophrenics and his clients, that the unconscious will generate images that are almost exactly similar to myths from ancient cultures in the psyche of the individual who has never read those stories. Okay. There's a book in the Bible, or there's a story in the Bible about Samson and Delilah that I've never actually read. I just kind of know about. And I had a couple of dreams that had super strong symbols to this myth. And I had some stuff happen in my life where I had a huge epiphany. And I was like, oh, my core pattern with women is, on an unconscious level, I think that they will betray me. And that when I feel that, I go and I either play basketball way too hard, or I work out way too hard and I hurt myself. And the reason I hurt myself is so I stop feeling capable in my body, so I don't have to feel like I have to go after these women who I feel like are going to reject me. Okay. I've never read the Samson myth until about a month and a half ago, because I had these dreams. And the part of the Samson myth that I didn't know is that after he was betrayed by Delilah, he was chained to a temple, to 2 columns in a temple. And when all of his enemies came to the temple, he prayed to God to get his power back for one day. And then he ripped down the 2 columns and killed everybody. Okay. Your dreams will use images in a way that is metaphorical. What is the core metaphor in our culture for your body? Temple. Your temple. And I never knew that part of the story. And So my psyche used mythological symbols from myths that I did not read to show me that I have a core pattern that I was unconscious to that's inhibiting me from finding the relationship that I want, that is mirrored in this myth. And it blew my fucking mind. And so I've been writing, trying to unpack all of this for the last 2 months.
Damn.
And the reason I'm writing about it every day is because it's still so hard to articulate in a way that makes sense. Because like I'm still trying to find out, where do I even start this story? And then how do I teach it or share it in a way that is actually useful to other people? Because a lot of it is just me rewriting out all my major experiences with women and all my major experiences with injuries. And I found like a clear correlation. Feeling like I was going to be or am rejected, going way too hard on the court or in the gym, getting injured, and then using that as a escape to not pursue the woman. And I did it over and over and over for like 15 fucking years. And I'm just getting to the point now where I see the pattern and I'm trying to change the way that I work out. I'm starting to work under the eyes of experts who are helping me like work from the foundations out. And dude, I think I just wrote about this yesterday or today. I felt the trigger. So I'm calling it my Samson complex. Because Jung had this idea about complexes, or like unconscious characters inside of us that get activated and possess us. And that's like when people say, I wasn't myself today, or I lost myself today, or I don't know what came over me. Like all those are examples of this complex possessing you and kind of taking control of the meat suit. But that's its own story. So it got triggered just a couple days ago. There is someone that I saw recently for the first time. You actually met her recently. And I could feel super attracted to her. But then I saw on Instagram that there was a dude in one of her stories, and I just assumed, okay, she's in a relationship. She has no obligation to me. We just met. And I could feel that complex in me get triggered, where it was like, oh, I'm not enough. I have to go work out harder. And I saw myself imagining going on super long runs. And then I came back to my desk the following day and started writing. I was like, stupid. We've been writing about this every day for 60 days. You met someone, had one conversation. You saw an Instagram story where there was a dude in it. You have no idea what's going on. And then you interpreted that as you not being good enough. Therefore, you have to go work out really hard to become good enough. But the beautiful thing is, this is the first time I've ever caught it and didn't go in the gym and do something stupid. So this is like, I'm in the midst of transforming this thing. But man, it's been 15 fucking years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a huge moment.
Yeah.
When you can recognize that step in the process and begin to reshift and just hold on to it for a moment and regroup and ground yourself back into your foundation, man. Like you're like where your feet are, your platform of operation right here. That's fucking beautiful. It's huge.
Yeah. And I just have to keep going to physical therapy and just slowly work from the spine out. Yeah.
You know what's really beautiful is the fact that you had this recognition within the past 2 months. Is that when you had the dream?
No, so I've the dreams. One came around Christmas time, and one came right after I got back from Peru. But I didn't start writing because I had the epiphany within the last 2 months.
Okay. So within your time of being here at On It, right?
It's all happened inside that time.
That alone is incredible because you are in the environment to help you heal that part of your psyche.
For sure, man.
Like how that worked and how that works is beyond me. But the fact that you were able to receive a message that you're around the right people to help you heal, it's fucking incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things where it seems to lend evidence to the suspicion that I have that if you show up 1% to your psyche, it will take care of the other 99%. You just have to show up that 1%. And that 1% is really hard.
I like that, though. It makes it more doable.
And I'm kind of stealing that from a quote. I think it's from Rumi, but it's take one step towards God and God will cross the universe to meet you. And I think it's the same thing. Take one step towards what Jung calls your individuation process, and your psyche will take the other 99% step towards you.
There's I can't remember who or where it's from, but there's a concept that's like, what you seek seeks you.
Yeah.
And that one, dude, that hit home.
What you seek is already
ago.
seeking you. Yeah.
Yeah, that is super interesting.
I just have a wave of goosebumps going through me right now, man. And yeah, like I truly believe that there is a thing inside of you that is like a God that is actively trying to connect with you. And it wants to help you become the greatest version of yourself that you could possibly be. And it's seeking you. You just got to take your 1%, man.
I see you. That's beautiful.
Likewise.
Damn. And do you refer to that as your potential? Because you have that fucking exquisite diagram of how to like talk to your potential, or this all-seeing eye that is watching every move of yours, and you break it down like category by category. What do you refer to that as?
I probably should, just for precision, codify some core words that I use, but I just haven't yet. I haven't like really sat down and tried to codify what I believe. I've just, talked a lot. I like the word potential. I like the word daemon. I like the word God, but God has so much baggage. I will not use God. But I like potential. I like daemon. Those are the two that I like the most right now. But daemon, you know what? Actually, daemon is the medium through which your potential communicates with you. So I don't think it's that. That's a good insight that I haven't had until now. Yeah, the word right now that I like is potential, but I don't think that will be the word that I will pick whenever I try to codify this. And like, it sounds grandiose, and fuck you, like I'm going to do it for my psyche, and I know it's going to be helpful to at least one other person. But like, I know that I want to codify as much as this stuff for my own linguistic fluidity. So like I don't ever have to think 2 times about what word to use. So I'll do that one day. But yeah, right now I'd say potential.
That's cool that you understand that that is part of the process. Even your articulation and the words that resonate the most with what you're talking about, and discovering those is part of the process.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people get caught up on having to choose that right thing right now, and they can't move forward until they do. But you recognize here's a placement for that, like that position. Now let's work on everything else, and we know when the time is right, that'll be fulfilled. And
what's beautiful, man, is like I know the top part of that pyramid and the one right below it are never going to change. Like I might add to the love and truth thing, but that I is never going to change because I will never fully bring forth my potential, and that's beautiful. Like I'm okay with that. That's never going to change. That part of the pyramid I know is set for the rest of my life. And the one beneath that is my ethos, which is to be in love and to be in truth. I think I might add plus faith equals grace, but like the core of that's not changing. I will never have an ethos that doesn't have truth and love in it. Everything else underneath that can change and move around and be dynamic, but it feels really good to have a piece of my map that I know is still an illusion, but it's a useful one. It's a pragmatic illusion. But I have some foundational pieces on it that I know are my truth.
What do you feel like really helped you align with your ethos? Because as we both know, it can be a plethora of different things. What helped you kind of resonate and sit down with what it is.
Yeah, the truth is probably not sexy. I listened to every single thing I heard Jordan Peterson say, and he talked about truth being your highest value. And the other person that I followed the most at that time was Aubrey, and I could tell Aubrey's highest value was to be in love, and I just fucking put them together. But then the important part is I ran that experiment over and over in my life. Like, I started, like, until, I can only speak from my experience, but I'm pretty sure that this is true for most people. Until you make the conscious choice to begin speaking in truth, you'll notice that every single fucking relationship you have is at best 40% real. Like, you're showing up 40% in truth. And at some point I started just slowly trying to show up in more truth with all my friendships. And like, I was just talking to someone recently. The quality and the depth of all my relationships now are something that I didn't have with anyone 8 years ago because I wasn't capable of that depth. But now I have no one in my life who I don't go deep with because I won't accept it. And I've only gotten to that point because I ran the experiment of like, how can I be a little bit more truthful with love for this conversation? And like, we all have people really close to us who we know we love and who know that we love them and vice versa. And that we can see that there's something that they're doing that if I wasn't afraid, I would call them out on it because I love them and I know who they could be and I know they want to be who they could be, and we've already talked about it. Before you actively start trying to be in love and in truth, you might let your friend sleep in for 4 days and watch Netflix for the first 2 hours of the day. But you're not being in truth. If you two have had really deep conversations into 5 a.m. in the morning, you know, smoking mapacho and tripping on some mushrooms, talking about how you two want to build something amazing in the world that's going to help 1 million people. You are not in truth on that third day when you come home from work and he's still watching Netflix and you haven't laid into him. So specifically with your brothers and sisters who have agreed to go down the path with you and starting to run that experiment the last year of being in truth and in love, like, all my relationships are deeper. All my friends are closer towards the lives that they want to be because we're all co-doing this. And also, like, whatever your ethos is going to be the thing that is going to help you find your tribe. Because everyone's ethos is not going to be truth and love. Like, you can be in truth and love, but your ethos might be, I'm going to be genuine. And that's a slightly different martial art style than the style that I'm learning. We're still both potent and we'll choke you the fuck out if we need to. But you're going to find people that resonate with your style. That's your tribe. And like, chiefs of tribes can be friends, you know? And like, I can just tell from both you and I, we're not going to be in a tribe where one of us is chief. You know, like, we're going to have our own thing, do our own thing, be in love, and have mutual respect and give a nod to each other while we go do the thing in the world that we're going to try to do. And that's dope, you know? And I think that you will find the people who follow your ethos by embodying your ethos consistently, and then you just have a dope ass tribe.
How important do you feel like that trial and error aspect of even building your own ethos really is? Because you did an excellent job at kind of piecing together, you know, the ideas from 2 other people that could very well have just been an illusion. Oh, they do it, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
How important was that trial and error process of kind of building your own relationship or understanding of that?
I think the core of pragmatism, which is also, it ties into all the things that we've really talked about, like, why do you journal? How do you hear your daemon? How do you find your tribe? How do you find your ethos? How do you not go insane by doing too many psychedelics? And it's, if you're a pragmatist, you basically take ideas, and the only way to discern between how true something is you have to act on it. You have to look at the feedback that the universe gives you, and then you start to collect data. So I think it is the essence of learning. It is how you will, it's how you will learn anything. Terrence McKenna has a great quote, and it's like, what good does someone else's knowing do you? Nothing. You have to know what it's like to sit under the waterfall. You have to know what 5 grams of mushrooms are like, if you're interested. You have to know what an orgasm feels like. You have to know what to be in love feels like. No one else's knowing will do you any good. You got to go do, motherfucker. You know? And I think the way to become the most potent thing is to never be attached to your maps and to constantly be willing to reiterate your tools in the universe and get the feedback.
Damn.
Over and over and over and over and over until you die.
Fuck. So not being attached to your map, but having a map in general, how does that work? So you have a map, but
you have to, if you don't have a map,
attachment?
You're not talking. If you don't have a map, you are not making it to your car. If you don't have a map, you're not filing your taxes. Your map is how you interact.
Word.
But so this is something I got from Robert Anton Wilson, who's my favorite philosopher. And it's this idea of reality tunnels. And your reality tunnel is, it's your map. It's the thing that you've used to interface with the world. And if you've never had a severely disruptive experience that completely shatters the map that you started to build as a child, because we all come into the world starting to build a map, and we get a lot of data or blocks or etches on our paper from our parents and our coaches and our culture. But most of us are going to experience something in our early 20s. It might be way before, it might be way later, that is going to destroy your map. And people kill themselves when this type of thing happens, or they rebuild and they make a new map. And most people might only have 2 maps their entire life, like the one that they grew up with and the one that they rebuilt after their first major experience that disrupts it. But you can pick up any map you want and play. And there's a great book called Prometheus Rising by Robert Anton Wilson. That's just basically a book that slowly teases you about what you think your world is. It's just a map. You only have one. And you can throw it away and play with someone else's map and use that to try to go through the forest. And the more maps you play with, the more you recognize mine actually isn't that important. But just like the oak seed is destined to be an oak tree, each of us is destined to be our thing. And so play with as many maps as you can. Buddhism is a map. Christianity is a map. Republican is a map. Democratic is a map. Health and wellness obsession is a map. Like keto is a map. All of these are tools to interface with reality with. Damn. And you don't want to be someone who only knows how to use a hammer because you think that you're a hammerer. You're a goddamn god. And you can learn to use all the tools. And once you know what you want to do in the world, which I think is connecting to your daemon and really listening to what you want to become, then that helps you choose your maps. And you pick a bunch of dope maps, and then you make your map, and then you go do some dope shit in the world. But just know that it's a map. Like, you know.
Wow. Full circle, man. That brings in the trial and error and collecting data and understanding what map resonates with your path, your mission, your foundation, everything.
Ouroboros, baby.
Full circle. Dude, Erick Godsey, thank you so much, man. That was an absolute pleasure to be on it with you, in this room with you, and to actually be able to do this in person,
for sure,
one-on-one, with nobody else around. This is a beautiful moment. Do you have anything else that you would like to share or add or let people know?
So I felt the spiritual part of me want to say something, and then the egoic part of me want to say something, and then my spiritual part of me, really a part of my ego hijacking the spiritual part of me, starting to condemn what the ego wanted to say. So I'm going to say what the ego wants to say and then what the spirit wants to say.
Please.
The ego wants to say, if you like what you're hearing and you want to stay connected, you can go to my website, erickgodsey.com, and you can sign up to my email list. I send out an email every week. And then what the spiritual wanted to say was, I truly believe probably the most important piece of advice you could act on is to try to be 1% more honest in love in every interaction that you have. That includes yourself and other people and the environment. And then the thing that my ego was trying to hijack and use as my spirit to attack my ego was, how dare you fucking try to get people to join your email list, you fuck. But I think the truth is that I'm possessed by my daemon in such a way where I talk, and my talking has helped some people. And that if my ego wasn't trying to feign humility by attacking itself, I think that I'm responsible to try to spread what my words are to as many of the types of people that it could help. So ego, try not pretend to be spirit to feign being humble. Fuck you. If you want to go check out my email list, go to my fucking website.
That was done so uniquely you. It's unreal.
It was my truth, yeah.
Man, I love your approach. I love your personality. I love your ego. I love your spirit, your soul, your everything, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. This was a pleasure. You're a great interviewer.
Thank you. So are you. Until next time.
There will be a next time.
There will be.